Hi, my name is Stuart Wenig, and this video is about how to use the NAST tool for CA Network Flow Analyzer. My blog at stuart.wenig.com has all kinds of cool stuff about all the NetQS products, and I currently serve as Communications Officer for the CA Infrastructure Management Global User Community. I've been working with the NetQS products since 2006, doing just about everything at over 150 different customer sites. First, let's identify the problem we're trying to solve here. Getting information on incoming flows. NFA receives NetFlow from devices on your network and does some pretty advanced analytics of that incoming data. However, sometimes the data we expect isn't there. There are various reasons why incoming NetFlow data might not get processed properly by NFA. The NAST tool, previously known as NFA Parser, can help figure out if that problem is due to the incoming flows or something within NFA. Let me explain. After a flow is received, the harvester service reads the flow and dumps the data into NFA files on the harvester. This is pretty much the first bit of processing done by NFA. Each NFA file represents everything that happened on that harvester for a single minute. Now, by decoding that NFA file, we can see what is coming in properly and what is not. Now, comparing that information with what we expect to see in the NFA GUI can help us know if the problem is on NFA or our source device. It's all about scope definition. Now, before we get too far, let me clarify some of the names. NFA is Network Flow Analysis, which was previously known as Reporter Analyzer. NAST tool was previously known as NFA Parser. So if you've used NFA Parser before, there's not a whole lot different with the NAST tool, just a new version for a new version of NFA with a new name. Now, we could always get information about the incoming flows by manually capturing packets on the harvester and using a decoder like the one built into Wireshark to decode the raw packets. And you may even do this if you determine that there is a problem with the incoming flows and you want to know exactly what the problem is. Now, there's a document up on the community detailing this, so I won't go into it too much. To sum up, there are 8 fields that NFA needs in order to gather the required minimum information for a flow. If one of these fields is missing or corrupt, the flow is pretty much useless. This wasn't really a problem with V5 NetFlow since it had a static datagram and everything was well spelled out. However, since V9 NetFlow is extensible, it's possible to mess up or even leave out one of these fields. Now, V9 NetFlow has 2 components, the template and the flow record. The template details the datagram format of the flow record. So find the V9 template and you'll know if the right fields are included. Look at the flow record itself and you'll see the values to see if they make sense. Now, the NAST tool makes this whole process much simpler by allowing the harvester to do the original decode and then parsing through the resulting files. Something to understand about the NAST tool is that it's not something released by the developers over at CA. It is a tool released by the support guys to help them troubleshoot problems with incoming flows. And as such, it's not supported by CA support. It hasn't had any QA cycles dedicated to it, so it may not work at all, and you can't open a ticket on it. Also, it means that the version numbers haven't been carefully crafted to make any real sense. So here's a table showing which version of the NAST tool or NFA parser you need, depending on your version of NFA. Just make sure you're using the right version of the tool. Using the NAST tool is pretty simple. Just copy it to your harvester and run it from the command line. Depending on version, you may need to put it in the same directory as the NFA files. V13 can be run from anywhere. You'll be prompted for the number of minutes to parse through. This determines how many NFA files to process, since each file contains 1 minute's worth of data. You can also run the NAST tool in batch mode, so it can be added to a scheduled task. You can also copy the NFA files off the server to your laptop, for example, and run the NFA parser with the E argument. And this will parse through all the files in the same directory as the tool. Now, in normal mode, the tool will launch a browser window to display the final results after running. There are several cool things on a high level that the summary report shows you. First of all, you can see which router's flows are being processed. You can also see the average flows per minute of all flows coming into the harvester. CA has some guidelines around the total number of flows per minute on a harvester, but finding out what the current flows per minute on a harvester actually is not that easy in the GUI. This provides you a good way of doing it. The number of interfaces per router is also shown, as is the red list. This list contains two main groups of routers: the routers in the master console database that should be sending to this harvester but aren't, and routers that have sent flows that have some kind of problem. We'll talk more about these later. Clicking on a router at the top takes you to the details for that router. You'll see some router summary information, but also the traffic per interface. This is where you can determine if flows are not being received for a particular interface, or if flows are only being received in one direction. Later versions of the tool can also show if a certain number of flows have been discarded because of missing templates, indicating a problem with the NetFlow configuration on the device itself. Now, there are several reasons why a router might show up in the red list. Most indicate a problem with the sending device. The most common are bad SNMP responses from the device when the master console tries to do the SNMP poll, bad sysuptime values in the flow records themselves, so when the flows come into the harvester they have bad sysuptime values, or bad sequence numbers. If the sequence numbers are too far out of order, the device could be on the red list. If V9 NetFlow is being sent, but the template is not being sent with the flows, then that could cause the router to show up in the red list. Or any kind of incorrect NetFlow format, fields missing or corrupt data, could cause the router to show up in this list. In some cases, like with the Cisco ASAs, the NetFlow is properly formed, but one of the fields is sent as two separate fields with a name that NFA isn't expecting. NFA doesn't have the capability to combine these two fields back into a single value, and it's also not designed to look for the new field names. So CA is aware of this, and it should be fixed in the new version. Now, there's some pretty cool things that can be done with the output of the tool. For example, I built a simple parser that takes the scheduled output of the tool, the HTML output, and stores that data into a custom database. And then another piece of that same script takes the last 10 days worth of data in that custom database and generates flow count, router count, and interface count line charts in HTML format. I then take that HTML output and display it right inside Performance Center using the browser view. Now, you don't have to do anything as complex as this. Since the output of the tool itself is HTML, you could simply display it directly in Performance Center using the browser view. Now, before I wrap up, I wanted to make you all aware of the resources on the community that are available to help when decoding NetFlow data. The first document is a reference guide for enabling NetFlow on many different vendors' devices. The second is the main page for NAST-related information. You can download the tool, you can view related discussions and uses, and you can even post questions right there. The third shows how to use Wireshark to do a manual decode of NetFlow data. And the main thing I want you to know about these documents is that they are community-owned and maintained. In many cases, the documents on the community were originally authored by people at CA or with their help. However, these documents are meant to be living documents, and any community member has the ability to update the document. Think Wikipedia. So if something's not right or missing, fix it. So that's it. I hope this video has been helpful. Subscribe to my blog, stuart.wienig.com, my YouTube channel. You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Google+. I'm on LinkedIn, and I should be posting videos in the future. Thanks, and have a great day.